Your exercise for today is to do a series of value charts. The first one, we are going to do 3 values. We're going to do 10%, 50%, and 100% based on different hardnesses of pencil. This one happens to be 2B, this happens to be HB, and this happens to be 2H. Now you will notice that the 2B 100% is really quite dark and really closely matches a value scale that you would have in order to make the judgments about what's 10% and what's 100%. You'll see with the HB, you cannot match the darkness that you would get with a 2B. And with a 2H, you cannot match the darkness you would get with an HB. So you can see, depending on the pencil, just what degree of darkness you can get with multiple layers of value. So how do we judge what is 50%? Well, I would start with the 2B and get the darkest value you can get based on doing very light layers of graphite until it will no longer take any more value. You would do your 10%, and you can see the 10% is just slightly darker than those for the HB and the 2H. That can't be helped. It's almost impossible to do a 2B 10%. That pencil is really not meant for super light values. But I want you to try this and to try to achieve it. If this is 0, this is 10%, you know to add your, if you use a value scale like this, you can see here with the HB and with the 2H, you're much closer to a 10% value. But here, you can see that with the HB, the closest we can get is 90% value. So you want to start with that and think of that as your 100%. So between that and the 10%, where is your 50% point? It's not going to be at 50% value. It's probably going to be closer to 40%. So 100, 90, 80, 70, 60, 50. This is 50. It's really going to be somewhere between 40 and 50 if that is your 100%. Now with the 2H, the closest value we're going to get is probably 70%. That is too dark. You can see, if you look at the center, which is the graphite, and you look at the value scale is darker. You want the value scale and the subject to match. So the way you do that is by squinting, and it may even be at 60%. So if 60% is your 100% for a 2H pencil, that means that if this is 10%, and we're doing pretty well with that, something in between that is going to be somewhere between 30 and 40%. So that's where you want this value to be. So it can be a little darker or a little lighter. Probably on the lighter side is preferable. And if you squint at it, you can see that maybe we could go another layer darker on this 2H, in which case this 50% value will be a little darker and we would add more value to this. The next exercise you're going to do is you're going to do a 10-step value, and you want to be able to see a distinct change between each of these values. This might be darker because you can see this 2B is not as dark as this. So if you needed to, you could adjust and put another layer of 2B on here and then adjust accordingly. Here is our HB. This matches very nicely, but now you're going to have to work these, and my suggestion is work from the 10% value and go 10% all the way across, and then put another layer down and work all the way across and see where you get. So by the time you get to the HB and you want to match this, you may have to add more value, in which case then work backwards this way until you see some sort of change that's going to balance nicely, which is probably going to be somewhere in this area. So these take some time. Now here you can see this one is unfinished, and I'm going to match this to this, and then I'm going to start stepping it up and seeing where I get, because I know that I'm going to have to get 10 values out of this range here because we started with 60%. It is important that you don't darken each edge and then grade it. You want to get a nice even tone for each one of these shapes so that it doesn't look like a graded tone. Each one of these has to look like a flat tone. The next one that you're going to do is going to be continuous tone, and that means you have to go from dark to light. And of course I've reversed it here. So you want to start again with the lightest tone, all right? And then you can add another layer and go all the way, the entire distance, and I'll demonstrate this. So you'll have 3 of these, one for each of the hardnesses of pencil. Then you'll have 3 continuous tone, and then you will have a textured tone. And the way that you do the textured tone is to use your initial and keep repeating it. If you go outside of the lines, you can use your eraser shield to clean up those edges after you're finished doing the gradation. But this will be a continuous tone gradation.